Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. My name is John Pieranunzi, and this is the opening swing. Let's begin today, as we always do, with our news. And coming out of Europe, very light on the news front. We really only had the German unemployment, which resulted in a little bit of a sell-off. Europe is down about 1%, not very much. That's mostly what we got out of Europe. Coming into the US hours, there is no 8:30 news driver today. We instead have factory orders at 10 a.m. and JOLTS job openings at 10 a.m. as well, and then a few Treasury announcements. So that's really all we have today. We have NFP, non-farm payroll, at the end of this week, which is going to be the key number this week. Let's take a look quickly at some larger time frame charts, and we'll start with our monthly here. And so we're into a new monthly candle. Obviously, we're in June, and June is starting off within the prior candle. And as I've mentioned, on this time frame, the monthly time frame, I'm looking at this this market condition as balance with a skew for higher prices. The reason I'm doing that is we have mostly overlapping bars here. This is the fourth month of overlapping bars. However, most recently, we've shown the ability to take out the high and respect the low. So with overlapping bars, I'm calling it balance, but because we're showing the ability to test highs and respect lows, that's balance with an upward skew for me. That's how I categorize it. So on this time frame, what are the targets that I would expect to be hit? Based on that, I would be open to a test of the high if we can get past our 33 halves, which are the area we've been aware of up here. So I'm open to a test of the high, and I'm open to a test of the midline of the prior month. The midline is right around the 5,200, just above this prior monthly high around the 51.88s, which is another level. The 51.16s or 52.16s were an important area that I mentioned. We'll get into that when we switch to our weekly, which we'll do right now. So the weekly chart, as I've said, the big thing that we've recognized here, price discovery higher, shifts into balance, and now the weekly is trending lower. The weekly chart is one time framing lower. We've shown we've been unable to take the prior week's high, and we've shown the ability to test the prior week's low. So we have mostly balance on the monthly, but the weekly is trending lower. So now on this chart, as long as we respect the high of the prior week or test and reject, then I'm open to a test of the prior week's low. The prior week's low is our Friday low, which is important. Let's go on to our daily chart. Okay, here on our daily, we have our Friday low, which is very important, and we have our Monday high. So we're looking at the Friday low, the Monday high, and we see that the daily chart has been pretty clearly auctioning lower. We're not one time framing anymore. We've managed to break that, but the overall trend is lower for lower prices. What targets do we have on this time frame? Well, if we sell off, as I've said, we have the Friday low, and if we rally, we have the Monday high. Those are the two areas I'm looking at. I'm also noticing that this area right here, this Monday high, may result in becoming like a fractal market structure high, but similarly, the low also could end up being an area of support. So this is why I'm looking at this Friday low as important, the Monday high as important, and primarily today I'm expecting most of the trade to happen within that range. That's what I'm expecting today. Let's go to our 2-hour chart and look at some market structure. Okay, on this 2 hours chart, looking at the market structure, we can see that we put in our all-time high, large response by the sellers, inability to retest that high, and continued auctioning lower. On the target area that we were looking for down here was right around these 52.1275s, 52.16 region. If we fell through this 52, this structure right here, this 5250 region, then the next stop down, we were looking at the 16s to 12s, really a pretty broad area. Everything from about 5200 up to 5220 was the area. Kind of vague, but that's where we got that test on Friday, and that became our Friday low, which is important, which did test this HVN that we were looking at. We said if we lost this one, we'd expect it to travel down and test this one, and that's exactly what we got. So we've auctioned in the expected way. What else do we want to take a look at here? For me, we see this large response lower. We couldn't retest that high, then this auctioning lower here. But what we begin to see here is this the supports start to come in around the 5250s, push lower, and a bigger push higher here, and then another test and a larger response higher. So starting about right here, we're starting to see the support emerge. And how are we seeing it emerge? We're seeing it emerge with a stronger response higher than what we've seen, a more impulsive move higher. And really, this is the one we're reacting to now that happened after our Friday low. We responded higher. We were able to take out the prior highs on this trend and push us more into a balanced stance. So now what are we looking at? We have our Monday low, which is a key area. If the Monday low is taken out, then I would look for the 30s as the next target region. And if instead we push higher, then we have our settlement up here, and then the 5300s and yesterday's high. So basically, we're now within this, like I said, the Friday low to the Monday high. This area is an area that I'm looking at is fairly vague and balanced with pretty wide. The bias for me by default, based on our recent trend on this time frame, is for lower prices. However, that's not especially strong or written in stone. There's no reason that we couldn't push higher today. We're in a balanced area. It's fairly even money, in my opinion, as to what happens. However, I give the slight edge to shorts based on our recent trend. Let's go into our 8 box and plan for some specific price action. Okay, here we are on our trigger chart, our 8 box. Let's talk about some key areas that we have today. Key area, developing overnight low, very important. Region. Then we have yesterday's low, the Monday low area, right around the 50s, which is key. Below that, we have the 30s and the naked VPOC left from Friday. Below that, we have our 5216 region that I discussed. And then we have that Friday low, which is the prior week's low. Right here, very important. Above, we have full session levels, which I'm going to pay attention to today. Above that, we have our prior settle key area. Overnight high, which is our key in our 5200 to 5207, really the 03 region. And then we have the Monday high. Monday's high, our 5225 region, and then our key 33.5 area up here, which is also our prior week's VPOC. This is, I'm sorry, prior week's high. This is our VPOC from the prior week at 42 before that. But these are our key areas today. Let's talk about a bearish scenario first, the most bearish scenario. The most bearish scenario for me would be if we respect full session levels and we are unable to trade above them meaningfully. This could happen with, I mean, the scenario that I would look at the most is if sometime between now and the open, we just maybe make a quick test but are unable to really to trade up above the 5280s. maybe a quick test, but there's just an immense amount of supply in this LVN, and we can't get there, in which case the most bearish scenario would be something where we're unable, we respect these FS levels, and then we push lower to take the overnight low. And then taking the overnight low, we would be open, I would be open to continuation lower to test either the 5250 or Friday low area. This would then be another decision zone for me, where we could see price push higher, take this high, hold around, this is that 64 area, and continue higher to get the prior settle, which is our key area above. So this would, the most bearish scenario for me would be respect of the full session levels, push lower, get the test of either yesterday's low or near it, and then at that area, that would kind of be back to square one, where we could continue higher, or if we're exceptionally bearish, we might see us unable to get back through that 64 to 75 region, and we continue for the 30s, which are a possibility. And 30s again are another area where we're in balance, where we might see the reversion higher. Or if we really continue, if we really fall out of bed today, then we're going to start looking then again for our 5216, this region. And again, all of these areas, like I always say, when we're in this kind of a stance, any of these areas could be support, and I'm generally expecting support ahead of this low if we make a push today. I would be surprised if we took this low today. Could easily happen. However, I'm expecting if we get a push lower, I would expect first there to be some static or some support around the 5250s. If we're through the 5250s, then I'm open to a test of the 30s. If we get through the 30s, then I'd be looking at the 16s. But each of these places, especially once we test 50s, I would be expecting to see more of sort of what we saw here, which is a strong response higher. So I'm expecting some support on pushes lower. However, we don't see that support, then the key extended target would be the prior week's low, which we have right down in here in the 5205 half region. So that would be the most bearish scenario for me, of where we have that respect for the FS levels, we don't get there, and we just continue lower. Let's discuss a few other things here. I also want to just mention, for completeness, that we could easily see this type of action could happen with some type of a test that actually gets above FS levels and could test a P settle and then reject and then begin all of that. So I just want to flag that is possible to happen, but really the FS levels where they are now, this 85 to 86, is the key area for me. Like if we see a test and rejection, that's fine. We're still bearish. What we don't want to see if we're bearish, however, is to see price push through, test up, and then start to hold these levels and then continue. That's what we don't want to see if we're bearish. We'd rather see it fall below, be unable, and then continue. But so this is the key area for me, is this FS level region, where as long as we're below, I'm open to a take of the overnight low, potentially Y low. And yeah, as long as we're below, I'm looking for that. If we push above, it could be a test that could then continue. However, it could also be what we're going to go over right now, which is a bullish scenario. We could see a bullish scenario. We could see price kind of take this low, relieve the tension, check these prices below. This could happen early, depending on what, if we open around here, or it could happen pre-market, some type of test into this area right just above the 50s that then gives us some type of impulse higher, and then gets above this the FS level region. If we have an impulse higher low continuation, then the target for me would be the prior settle. This is the key. Prior settle is the key target for me above. This is the key area that I would look to trade on a long, trade for on a long, is this prior settle. And like I said, if we get that test, it could just be a test that then continues lower. However, if we instead, and again, I'll mention this area, we could get above this in any way. We could have a test lower, go higher, or we could just sort of melt higher. We've seen this kind of melt higher, higher low, continuation for the prior settle. So there's plenty of ways we could get above this level. What I just want to be aware of is when we first make any of these pushes, is it a test? Are we accepting these prices or are we rejecting? That's what I'm looking at. But anyway, so if we start getting above this area, our key target up here, P settle, if we're somehow able to hold the prior settle, hold above FS levels, then we're looking for that 03 level, as I've said. If we get up there and we're still able to lift offers, then we're looking for the RTH high at this point. For me, if we test above the RTH high, again, I would expect some type of a test above yesterday's RTH high, and then probably some reversion lower back into the Monday range. That would be my initial expectation on any test above the Monday high. It would be some type of a balance, an attempt to hold, and then reversion lower. That's what I would be looking at. Alternatively, if we are able to get above the Monday high and just keep lifting, then we're obviously looking for the 25s, and then these 35s would be the key target. Above the 35s with the prior week's high, I'm not expecting us to test the prior week's high. I'm also not expecting, if we test it, I'm expecting resistance initially. I'm not expecting us to push beyond it. But if we do, I'll be going by the convergent stock zones, which I make. But if we get anywhere really above yesterday's high, my initial expectation would be resistance. If we're somehow able to just keep pushing through these 25s up to the 33s, I would again be expecting resistance initially at on any push towards the prior week's high. So overall, I'm not expecting a large excursion today away from our range. I think we have a pretty good chance of seeing maybe some fairly wide swings, which could be tradable, but I'm not expecting a ton of excursion either above yesterday's high or below yesterday's low. I think the excursion, if we're going to get one of the two, I think excursion below yesterday's low is a little bit more likely, maybe. However, like I said, pretty balanced here. We're still respecting this this impulse. So if we respect this low, we're looking for the prior settle. If we don't respect this low, then we're looking for the targets mentioned below. Also, what you want to be aware of, like in this, we could just sort of respect this kind of sloping downtrend line, or we could respect this one, or we could respect them both and just have this tightening trade. That would be our nothing scenario. Just a tightening trade, maybe a quick test to here or a quick test lower, but really just mostly seeing the volume end up happening right around like above the 60s, but below the O's. That would be a trade to maybe we'd have a few initial scalps on swings for stats, but then if we're really not moving from here, that to me would end up becoming a very difficult trade, maybe a trade to just end a little bit early if we're not getting any kind of movement. But that's what I'm seeing today. I think the yesterday's high is very important. Yesterday's low very important, but the real key level for this week is going to be the prior week's low, which if things continue, I'll expect us to get a test at some point. But that's what I'm seeing so far. That's what I'm looking at today. I hope this was helpful for everyone. I hope it was complete. I hope something I said today benefits you and helps you do a little bit better today. I also hope everyone's having a great morning in progress, and I hope that continues. I hope you can make your trading a little bit better today, and I hope, of course, that you can make someone else smile today, because that's really the key. All right, that's what I got for you today. I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see y'all here tomorrow. Bye-bye.